Welcome to Drum and Drummer, a podcast focused on drums, drumming and drummers. I'm George Pickering and that's Ben Winty, and we are both professional drummers in this business we call music. So stick around and join us as we pass the time whilst trying to stay in time.
It's just play from front to back. So I have to have a lot of faith in my programming.
Welcome to Drum and Drummer. It's Thursday morning. Rise and shine, baby. George, I've got some questions for you.
Yeah, first of all, I don't feel like you're doing a cryptic thing, or maybe you are. If you are, you're hiding it well. Because, as we know, last year you did a word to start every episode and it made one sentence.
Do you know what? All I'll say is it's quite refreshing to not have to think about it.
So you're not doing something? Go on.
The eyebrows are up.
This is it. Go on, lay them on.
I've got some questions for you. Do you feel the power of the gladiator?
Fucking hell. Yes. Let's go with yes.
Do you have the will and the skill?
Yep.
Do you have the speed, the strength, the heart to be a winner?
Yes.
Because I'll tell you for this, George, it's not for beginners, deep down in your soul. That, of course, is the first verse of the Gladiators theme tune.
Right.
Gladiators is back this week. Or
yeah, okay.
will have
You're
just been on Saturday, just gone, because we're doing this in advance. But are you watching the new? Have you been watching the reboot of Gladiators, mate?
No, obviously not. Why are you asking? I feel like you're doing something to do with things that are descriptions of something. So you did the Raven description on the first episode back, and now it's Gladiators. I think you're starting with descriptions, but maybe not. We'll see next week.
Maybe not. Maybe
no, I'm
not.
not watching Gladiators. Is that what Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson used to do?
No, he was a wrestler, wasn't he? Gladiators,
no,
mate, British TV
Didn't he have
show.
a show? Oh, British. No,
British TV show, mate.
Show?
Yeah, it used to be on ITV. Ulrika Johnson, John Fashion You, or was it Akabusi? Fashion You, I think.
When was it out? What year?
90s.
Jeez. But
It was
I
in
was
the
born
90s.
94. When was I going to watch it?
Yes, but it's back. They did a season
Oh,
last
okay.
year. Season 2 is back. All new Gladiators. But they've kept a lot of the original games. The format is the same. The music is the same.
Amazing.
It's brilliant. But what this was leading me on to, George, is if you were a gladiator, what would your gladiator name be? Do you want me to give you some examples?
Yeah, please.
So I'll give you some of the originals, what their names were. I mean, it's a lot easier if you know what I'm talking about. We had Wolf, Hunter, Saracen, Shadow, Nightshade. Yeah, obviously the famous Jet. Remember Jet from Gladiators? Alan Partridge, he talks about Jet from Gladiators.
Oh, okay. I think I'd mix two of them and be called Nightwolf. That'd be my name.
Mr. Toad.
Yeah.
But some of the new ones, what we got? We got Apollo, Bionic, Giant. Mate, you should see Giant. He is huge.
Well, yeah.
Legend, Nitro. He used to be an Olympic sprinter.
Yeah.
Phantom, Steel, Viper, Athena, Comet, Diamond, Dynamite, Electro, Fire, Fury, and Saber. If you're not gigging on Saturday nights, which you probably aren't in January, or at least I'm not, get on the Gladiators, mate.
Yeah, fair enough.
I
will.
Wolf. Okay, yeah.
Nightwolf, yeah. I'll go with that.
Well, because I was going to lead in to, obviously I'm back on the arrows, mate, innit?
Yeah.
Back on the arrows, big time.
Yeah.
Hitting 180s like no one's business, yeah?
Yeah, big time.
5-year plan, mate. But obviously, we used to play a lot of darts, and we gave ourselves darts names, didn't we?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you see.
I can't remember what they were.
Do you know what I found? Because I'm clearing out the studio upstairs where
Yeah.
we used to play darts. I found the custom flights that I had made.
Wow. Yeah.
With the Blacksmith Studio anvil and my darts name, The Producer.
The Producer. What was I called again?
Chateau Can.
Chateau Can. Fucking hell, of course.
Yeah, you see.
Fuck.
So that should be your gladiator name.
Fuck.
He's all power.
Chateau Can. Should we explain Chateau Can, the origin of that? It was because, the David Brent film.
David Brent,
where
Life on the Road.
Life on the Road. And
backstage, isn't he?
Yeah.
Doing his,
whatever he's doing.
Yeah.
And then, come in. Oh, you caught me. Well, you didn't because you said come in. And then, and then you'll remember the line better than I did. What is it?
Well, it's something because then he's doing this, Eastern sort of thing. And then he's just basically says like, oh, you won't be good because you're a bit wiry.
Yeah.
Go, but I'm all power. Chateau Can.
Chateau Can, which isn't even the correct word. I swear it's Shoto Can. But that is a type of karate I used to do and got to brown belt in, which is hilarious. But all power, because whenever I used to throw a dart, the noise it would make when it went in the boards, like
thud. Thud. It was so.
As opposed to, I don't know if he still listens. As opposed to Neil, whose weedy little darts would just fall out of the board, and then he'd still count it as a point. Oh, you counting that, are you, Neil? If it stayed in the board for less than a second,
So
Whereas
you were Chateau Can. I found your darts.
Did you? Amazing.
Yeah. I printed out a little sticker that says Chateau Can on it.
Yeah.
And I've got my darts case that says the producer. But yeah, my 5-year plan, I'm still on track, playing darts every day. And I do think, and maybe this ties into our chat, we have a guest this week. He's very keen on teaching, drum education, practicing. And
Technique.
I think if I spent as much time on the drum kit as I do on the dartboard, maybe I'd be a better drummer. But
Definitely
I'm already a drummer. I want to be a darts player. So priorities. Anyway, we've got one of your football friends.
Yeah. I'll briefly explain how we met because I didn't say it. Dean Clellan is very good. Is very good at introducing me to people and making it instantly awkward, and then I have to make it not awkward. So I played football last Thursday with the same group of lads. I played football with him a bunch of times, but we'd never actually chatted, when you play and you're just playing and then see you next week, lads.
Fucking get him. Run.
Yeah, exactly.
Run, get back.
Exactly.
Switch it. That
what does that mean? I don't know what you mean. But so anyway, it gets to the end and we're all walking and Dean goes, "Oh, George, this is Connor. He plays drums. Talk to each other," or something like that. And I was like, "Oh shit," Anyway, it turned out that he follows the podcast, and I was like, "Would you want to be on?" He was like, "Yeah." So then that was that. We're actually playing tonight, so that'll be a nice thing to talk about tonight when we play, when we're 2-footing each other or whatever. But football friends. But it's funny how that works, isn't it? Because that's another thing where it's just like networking in disguise. There's another guy I play with, who I mentioned, who's fucking ruthless, Jordan. But he asked me to be in a band with him. So it's like, all these people, he hasn't seen me play drums, but he knows I can
all the business decisions happen on the golf course.
Left foot. Yeah, exactly. So anyway, let's just go in because we've been chatting.
I had a little joke that just came to my mind. Sort of, Dino, he it doesn't really work. It probably doesn't work, but he's sort of like the kingpin of all these Brighton musicians meeting. I just sort of thought he's sort of Jeffrey Epstein of Brighton, really.
He is.
He
is that.
Come to my island. Anyway, here's our chat with Connor McCorkindale.
Do you have some sort of relationship to the Flower Pot Bakery?
No. Why?
No? Okay, cool. Because I was looking at your 6-day intensive course, and there's a bit where it's a break at the Flower Pot.
No, there's just around the corner from my studio. Dangerously placed, actually, because it's quite easy to take a break from practice and just go get a coffee. It's literally 2 minutes away, so it's just a perfect place to go have a break.
That is the perfect place. What I was saying was I work at the bakery bit of Flower Pot, so where they make all the bread. And anyway, I left early last night, and I was like, "Oh, I wonder if he's part of that." But
we can start one now if you like.
Well, do you know what? I get 50% off. So if we ever go to Flower Pot, you and I, I'll get you in. I'll get you in on that. I don't know if the podcast actually started. This is Ben.
Hello, mate.
Hi, mate. Nice to meet you.
It's my drumming psychic.
Other way around.
Where should we start, Ben? Where should we be? I don't know why I'm leaving it with you. This is a guest I've got us.
Yeah. I want to start with broken wrist.
Yeah, okay, let's start with
that. Oh, man. So you've done your research.
Yeah. I told Ben you had a broken wrist.
As a drummer, not ideal, is it?
Really? No, it was really, really quite annoying. It was quite funny when on like the day, I just was sort of in hysterics, just kind of laughing at the fact that the one thing I need, I've broken. But we're playing football, literally just like so out of the blue. I didn't even feel it when it happened. I probably just went in for a tackle, put my hand out the wrong way. I was driving home. I was just like, oh, something's up here. And didn't sleep all night and woke up the next day and was like, I've got to go to the A&E. And then I had a fracture. So a bit of bone chipped off the top. It wasn't a mad break, to be fair, but it put me in a cast for a week. And then I was in a splint for about 2 months. So I didn't play drums for about 2 months. To be fair, I did take the time to like really get quite good with my foot technique. I didn't want to just sort of waste the time. But yeah, it was really annoying. And even now, I mean, you can kind of still see there's like a bump in my wrist, essentially. The range of motion is still kind of there, but if I try to play like singles really fast, sort of like pushing 180 kind of thing, it starts to ache really quickly. So I'm still sort of building up the strength and the muscles around it.
How long ago did you break it?
It was in August, I think.
Quite recently,
so I had to, I had to cancel a few gigs. Luckily, it wasn't too bad. And luckily, I can still teach as well. But I was a bit disappointed. But I feel like it was a reasonable excuse to cancel the gig, isn't it? There's not much you can do, to be honest.
No. Just send a photo with your arm like that, and then just.
There is a really good photo of me. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's like me in the toilet of the A&E, literally just after I've got my cast on. I'm taking them, and I just look so sad. I kind of got this like really sad smile on with the cast, and the sling, and for a while it was my profile picture, just to sort of let everyone know it's like I'm not available right now.
Yeah, literally. Someone's like, "Hey, have you heard this drummer? He's pretty good." It's like, well, his wrist is broken. I might leave it.
Got good feet though. Now.
Yeah, well, this is it. Did you notice when you could play again? Did you feel rusty, or did it come back all right?
Yeah, I had to spend some time just sort of building up the strength on the pad. But certainly for like certain projects. So there's a lot of fast singles in Winter Gardens, and getting used to that again was quite tricky. But everything else that I play, project-wise, is typically just a lot of pop stuff. So just 2 and 4. It did take a while for rim shots to stop hurting, so I just kind of stopped doing that. The only actually thing that was annoying is that I still am, but was developing traditional grip, and now that's got some sort of a lot more twisting with traditional grip. So that was really painful, and that I just couldn't do for a while. I'm still only just sort of getting back into that, and on the end ranges, it still kind of hurts. If I sort of twist my wrist like this, it clicks every time. Clicks every time.
Was there any sort of discussion with doctors or physios about like specifically being a drummer and recommendations as to when to definitely not play for a certain amount of time? Or
they were basically saying don't, and not necessarily specifically to being a drummer, but they gave me like this list of things that I should do, like a timeline kind of thing. It's like not lifting heavy things for basically like 8 weeks. Slowly, I had to keep the splint on basically 24/7 for I think 4 weeks, and then I could take it off after 6 weeks when I'm not doing anything. So I had to do like these stretches every day. They basically wanted me to treat it like a sprain because it was a minor fracture. But to be honest, I remember the look on the nurse's face when I told her I was a professional drummer, and it's just like this kind of almost like she wanted to laugh in sympathy, kind of. She kind of gave me this like pity look. It's like, oh, bless you.
Yeah.
Get the word professional in there as well.
Not
just the drummer. I'm a professional, so
yeah.
You know, if you've got
When talking
extra
to any
treatment
nurse.
for the pros, then sort me out. You know.
I remember hearing about Matt Helders from Arctic Monkeys. Apparently, he broke his wrist because he punched a wall, and he
That's
said
a lot cooler than me.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Football's cool, and but he punched a wall as they were doing like the AM sessions, and he said that when he went to have the operation to have it fixed or something, as he was going under, the doctor said, "Have you heard of Def Leppard?" And then he went under, and then obviously Def Leppard, and he was like, "What?" And he said it was like the cruelest joke ever. But yeah, I want to ask. You mentioned traditional grip.
Yes.
Are you still having lessons with Pat? I know you were. Okay, cool. What was the incentive to learn traditional grip? Because it's something that some drummers, I don't know, just gravitate towards.
It's a fairly short story, but I've always, in terms of like getting better at the instrument, I've always found that the things that I have in my head and the things that I air drum are the things that I want to play. And then when I realized that I actually can't play the things that are in my head or that I'm air drumming, I'm like, okay, well, that's the thing I've got to focus on now. So I started out of the blue for like a year. I was just air drumming with traditional grip. I was just going like this, not knowing what I was doing. And I took that to Pat, and I was like, I'm just doing this all the time. And obviously, Pat is the GOAT of traditional grips. He just can do everything. So he thought it would be a good idea for me to do, because I like to play in lots of different ways. I'm a bit of a technique nerd, so it's nice to be able to do Mola, which we spent years on, but in a different context, because I really enjoyed developing the Mola stuff, all the slow motions and stuff. And now doing it on the traditional grip, it's like a whole new world, and it just feels so alien. But I think it looks cool. I actually don't think there's much like benefit to playing traditional grip, except for maybe two things being it's a vibe. It looks cool. I think it makes you look like you know what you're doing. It's like if you see someone playing traditional grip, it's like, oh, cool, he's playing traditional grip, nice. And then maybe the only other thing is it just kind of makes you play a different way. You just come up with different things. It almost like alters your brain. Maybe you go from like right to left brain kind of thing. But I still am not quite there with it yet. I can kind of get by. Every now and again, I'll do a function and I'll just be like, okay, I'm just going to play traditional grip in this function just to get used to it. But then it's just like trying to get around the kit, because obviously I'm still setting up a drum kit as if I'm playing matched, but it's completely different. Like the tom's going to be in a different place. You need it a bit more central. You're not going to want your crash in the same place because you're coming at it from a different angle. You kind of need a completely different angle on your left crash. And then ideally, I found that having a slant on the snare away from you is really quite comfortable with traditional grip, because you can get a rim shot that way as well. From doing that, actually, I worked out that I quite like it with match grip as well, having a slight tilt away from you. I think it looks awful. I think it looks horrific, but it's quite comfortable to play.
My snare has a slight angle away from me, but when I'm sat at the kit, it looks flat. To me, it looks flat, but then I put my sticks on it and they just slowly roll. And I'm like, oh yeah, maybe that's just as my belly's got bigger.
Do you ever use the what is it? It's like the angle or the degree. I don't know. It's in the measurement app on your phone. I don't know if you've got iPhones, but there's that app on your phone where you can work out the angle of something. You put your phone flat down, like the level. That's what it's called. So you put that down on the snare, and I've done it for like all my toms, like the angle of my kick pedal as well. So if I'm moving kits around, I know exactly the angle that I want, and my snare is like 2 degrees away from me.
2 degrees. I'll have to check. Yeah. I've got an iPhone. Yeah, I'll have to when I get my kit set up again.
It's quite useful when you're gigging loads and your kit is like always in the back of your car and stuff. Put like notes in your phone of all the angles that you like your drums to be at, And then when you rock up and you're like, oh, this feels weird today, you just check the angles and you're like, okay, cool, I'm like 5 degrees off.
Wow. I know
that's a precision pro tip.
Life
PPT.
hack. Yeah, life hack.
Exclusive on the pod.
Emphasis on the pro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to ask about the 6-hour intensive day lesson.
I'm pretty sure earlier, George, you said the 6-day intensive lesson.
Probably did.
And I thought that is intense.
That is intense. I want to ask about the 6-hour intensive day, because that's something that I haven't seen people do before. How often do you do these, and what's the general structure of the day?
What's the benefit of in your head of a 6-hour?
Okay, so the benefit is, you ever tried to learn a language off Duolingo?
Yes.
And how much time do you actually spend in the country comparative to trying to learn the actual?
Well, good point. When I went to the country, I sort of deleted the app because I thought this is a completely different thing.
It's you get your Duolingo app and maybe you look at it like twice a day, and then after like a week you kind of get bored. But if you like told someone to go spend a week in Italy, they'd come back knowing some basic sentences and being able to sort of make their way through the town. And I kind of thought the same thing with teaching. It's like when you have your first lesson, you have half an hour, maybe an hour. And for a lot of people, I mean, some people just get it, don't they? But for a lot of people, playing your first like money beat takes longer than an hour. Some people get it in like 10 minutes, you know what I mean? But I've always enjoyed learning. It's when I've been immersed in something, and that's all you're focused on. And it's the same with like going to a country. That's the only thing you have in front of you. So that's all you need to think about. Whereas if like you have a half an hour lesson or an hour lesson, your first lesson, you learn some basic things. And then chances are by the next week, you've forgotten half of it. Maybe you know what you need to practice, but you're not going to remember all the intricacies of a stick grip, remembering to move from the wrist on your tap strokes and stuff. Not that that's a first lesson thing, but quite often you'll have a student come back for their second lesson and they'll be playing like the snare on the 1 and the 3 instead of the 2 and 4. So, but if you do like a whole day, you start off with your basic technique, some singles, some doubles, you get the counting going, then you start doing your first beat, you take a break, you let it all sort of settle in. You come back, you try some new kick patterns. By the end of the day, you can play like 90% of music and probably get through some decent fills as well. I mean, I do blocks of 5 weekly lessons, and that's spread across 5 weeks. And obviously you have time to practice. But unless you're like serious about drumming, you're probably only doing maximum 10, 20 minutes a day, maximum. So you get probably literally 5-6 times more practice and experience in that 6-hour intensive than you do across a block of 5 lessons. And then if you do the intensive, then start going on to weekly lessons, you just have a massive head start.
So is it usually for people's first lessons then that you do it with? Is that often?
It depends. It doesn't happen a lot because it takes a very specific person to want to do a 6-hour intensive, especially as a beginner. Typically, it's not really for beginners. It's someone that's been maybe playing for like 6 months to a year, and maybe they've been self-taught as well, and they're just like, I just want a day where I can find out all the things that I'm doing wrong, learn some proper technique, and then go on their way from there. And maybe they'll do that once every 3 months or so, because not everyone can commit to a weekly lesson. People have lives. And for that person, it's really good because I'll give them like a practice plan afterwards. Okay, all right, cool. For the next month, 2 months, 3 months, just focus on that. Don't worry about anything else. Don't try to get super fast or super clean. Just focus on this 1 or 2 things over the next 3 months. Get really good at it. And when you come back, we can move on from there.
Yeah, fair. That makes sense. And it is, I guess it's like, I feel like you can do that with driving lessons, can't you? You can do like a week and then pass, and then it makes way more sense than doing 8 months or a lesson a week,
It's also quite good for if you are like an intermediate drummer and one very specific thing that you're not very good at. Like maybe let's say your left hand power while doing fills, it's just like nowhere near the same as your right hand. You spend an entire day, you spend 6 hours doing that in different variations, different subdivisions. You end that day and it's just like not a thing anymore. And then you practice that for a month. It's like that just isn't an issue for you anymore.
Do you enjoy teaching? There's a big question.
I love teaching. Yeah, I actually do. And it's funny because I think it's a common story that people start teaching because it's perhaps like career musicians start teaching because it's the quickest way to start earning money from your instrument.
Yeah.
And that was the reason why I started as well, because I wanted to move out of hospitality. So I was like, okay, well, let's start at least making money from the drums in any way. And as I started to develop sort of lesson plans and courses, I mean, I don't really do lesson plans. I wrote like a curriculum for myself, essentially, similar to the way Pat teaches. He doesn't necessarily, he's not going to spend time before the lesson working out what they're going to do for an hour, but he just knows the progression. And over time, I've sort of worked out what the progression is. And I really enjoyed like the creation of the courses and the curriculum. I like coming up with different exercises. Again, I'm a bit of a technique nerd. Different accent patterns, different technique exercises and subdivision exercises. And I really enjoy giving that to a student. And they're like, oh, God, this is really difficult. And then by the end of the hour or by the next week, they've got it. And they're like, yeah, this is really cool. It's amazing how rewarding it is. And I don't think people will actually realize, you hear people talk about teaching being rewarding, but I don't think you really realize how rewarding it is. Now, I do know some people who teach and they're like, I don't love it. They do still do it for the money. I think it takes a certain type of person. And I think those types of people tend to be the best teachers, the ones that have a natural affinity to it. I mean, I've always been someone that enjoys seeing my own progress. That seems to have translated into enjoying seeing all my students' progress. That, and some of the people I teach are like just really interesting people, and some of the kids are like just funny, and I always have a good time. We're always laughing. I'm always learning something from them, even if it's about their job or what they're doing at school, or if they're studying at uni, someone's doing like politics. So I don't know anything about politics. I just hit things with wooden sticks, you know what I mean? So it's quite interesting. Like the first 10 minutes is always just like a catch up. So anyone that thinks that sounds enjoyable, I would always recommend trying at least teaching. A quick backstory. I started playing drums quite late. I think what I consider late. I was 15, I think, just turned 15. So by the time I was at uni, I'd only had about 3 years of playing, whereas most of the people, I mean, a lot of people have been like 10 plus years playing drums. So I was like, okay, well, I'm really not so much behind, because in those 3 years I was playing drums like every day, and I was still playing in bands with my friends, and I did have lessons for a couple years with like a local teacher, but still it was very apparent that I just hadn't had the time to be as good as everyone else. So I decided that I'm just going to have to practice more and work harder than everyone else. And so I was the person that was staying at home with a practice pad, working on my upstroke while everyone else was going out to pub taps and getting like £1.75 pints. And after the second year of uni, I was like, I don't want to go through the summer without any formal education. So I asked Pat, and he gave me a bit of an ego boost, because I remember going in to talk to him at BIMM, and it was like me asking for private lessons. And he said, it was like, I can have a look, but I don't take on everyone. And he doesn't still to this day. So I was like, oh, okay. I just thought I could get lessons with him. And then next week he came back and was like, I've got space for you. I was like, great. I was like an ego boost that I'm one of the people that he chose to take on. And ever since then, I was very clear that I just wanted to like focus on the absolute fundamentals and basics, take me from the ground up. And so we started on all the molar stuff, moving on to push-pull, Gladstone sort of thing, onto fingers. And so for the first 4 years in lessons with Pat, I didn't even touch a drum. No, not 4 years, 2 to 3 years. I didn't even touch a drum in the lessons. It was all on the pad. And it was just working on the micro movements of an upstroke and a full stroke, really quite detailed and quite frustrating at times, because there'd be some weeks where it's just like, I've been doing the same thing for 2 months, and it's the only reason why we're not moving on is because I have got my wrist like 3 centimeters in like that rather than out there, and like we can't go on to the next one until that's fixed. And I just couldn't stop it. So when you study with someone for that, it's only natural that you just pick up his habits. I think I teach in a very similar way. I always think that you should teach the way you're taught. And even my first teacher, I have habits from my first teacher, even in things like I say. And I've recognized just as something as simple as like when I want to demonstrate something, I'll always say, okay, jump up. And you think that's like nothing, but that's always the same thing my first teacher would say. It's like, okay, jump up. I'm never saying, okay, let me show you. It's the exact same thing that he would always say. And then when I'm writing down on like lesson planners and stuff, I quite often start it with like good stuff. And that was always the thing that was on my lesson planner from Pat. It's just always good work, good stuff. And then the other thing is, like Pat always likes to say, get that cooking, and then we'll look at it next week. Now I always say that. Yeah.
Yeah, fair. I think the thing that I like about
Good job
Pat,
he's not a racist. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Very
So I keep saying it, but my first
yeah.
teacher was a massive racist, and I just keep saying it now. Yeah.
yeah, the wrong thing to pick up. I like the way Pat will just leave the room, you know, or go off and do something and leave you to it. I remember talking to him about
He's
that.
conned you all. He's conned you all. I love Pat. He's conned you all into thinking that's good teaching. Lazy.
I know.
Lazy. Yeah.
But I remember
I'm just going to take 20.
Yeah, but he said Bob Armstrong did it.
It's brilliant.
Like,
it's amazing the way he just leaves a room. And I pay him for it. It's brilliant.
Yeah. But I think that's actually really important, to be fair, because it gives you like maybe 5-10 minutes. I mean, I've never had that conversation. I've noticed it, obviously. I've never had that conversation with him. I didn't realize it was a thing Bob did. But I do it sometimes. I think it gives the student a bit of breathing room to, even if like you're not really comfortable in the lesson, it just takes away the trying to do it right for the teacher. And you can make your mistakes and you can just get it out, and there's no pressure. And because teachers just have that influence on you. So I don't know if either of you have ever had a teacher come and watch you play. It's like the most terrifying thing ever.
No, not beyond maybe like those BIMM end of year gigs, but beyond that. But I remember that being terrifying in itself. You know, like, I want to talk about, you keep mentioning, you know, you're a technique nerd. Are there things that you haven't studied in which you want to study?
Yeah, loads of things. There's not enough time in life to get through everything. I always thought it was a bit of a myth when I was at uni, and people were like, or lecturers were always like, this is the most practice time you'll ever have. When you actually get into the real world, your practice time just goes away. So I try to do at least like 10 minutes every day, even if it's just pad stuff. But for the things that I want to be getting good at, you need to be doing it like every day. So the things that I'm working on now are the traditional grip, double bass stuff, because I'm just continuing from when I broke my wrist, and I'm doing some Afro-Cuban and Latin stuff with Pat as well. Now, that's all like practical stuff. That's actually going to help me in the music that I play. But I have always wanted to just be like super, super locked in with time. And by that, I mean, you know, displacing like halftime grooves by like semiquavers and playing off the click, and then metric modulation, being able to play, you know, all that stuff you see on, like, I mean, we've just seen loads of it over Christmas where you get all these people doing the polyrhythms over Mariah Carey. And it sounds like arse, but it's cool. And there's a place for it. it's maybe not over Mariah Carey, but there's a place for it, especially in the more maybe fusion stuff, tech metal, that kind of thing. And that's music that I really like. And just to be able to know the space in between the quarter notes just perfectly. So you can choose which quintuplet note you want to play or which sextuplet note you want to play, as opposed to just being able to play all five. And then start being able to start grooves on like maybe the third quintuplet as opposed to the first one. That stuff, like a really deep dive into subdivisions and time. That I think would be really
Ollie
fun.
Woods.
No,
That's the guy.
You should get to know Ollie Woods. He I think he's doing a PhD in metric modulation or something like that. Yeah, he studies. He does all these transcriptions on Instagram.
Right. Okay. Well, Ollie Woods.
Ollie Woods.
Ollie
Yeah,
Woods.
we've had him on the show. He's he transcribes all these drum solos and iconic sort of performances, and it's incredibly detailed. And yeah, he's doing a PhD on metric modulation. And
how do you even do a PhD on metric modulation?
But he's proper into all that stuff, so it's like
I'll get you two in touch if I can, because he's like the guy to talk to. Yeah, you might have seen some of his videos. They all seem to go
quite viral. Some of them, yeah.
He'll do like that Aaron Spears thing where he'll like transcribe it perfectly
and then play it.
Cool.
And then play it as well. Yeah. But I remember him telling it, and we asked him about it. We said, can you describe what metric modulation is to us? And he's doing a PhD, and he sort of went off, and Ben and I were.
Do you remember his description?
It was like changing the pulse. Something remains constant, but something changes.
Yeah,
that's kind of my understanding of it. If my understanding of it, and this might be wrong, but let's say you're doing like a 3/4 polyrhythm. If you start using the 3 as the pulse, you're still in 4 time, but you make it feel like the groups of 3 are actually the 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
And so it just sort of goes over the bar, and then you just feel like you're in a different time, and all of a sudden you bring it back, and you're like, whoa, what the hell? It's like feels like a tempo change.
Well, literally like that. I remember it was in COVID when everyone was doing the "Everybody Wants to Rule the World" modulation, and I play our mutual friend Dean. I play in his 80s hi-fi, and they play that song, and I've never been brave enough to do it because I feel like I just fuck it up. I was like, I need to practice this hard if I just pull this out on a gig. But I thought that'd be the funniest thing, because that was the first time I think I really heard it and went, "This is what's going on here," And then it is cool. It is because it's just anything that kind of makes your head go like, "What's going on here?" I think for me,
we're first hearing Dream Theater. There's definitely stuff like that going on. There's one particular track called The Mirror, and it might not be quite that, but the guitar starts and it puts your brain into this pulse. The drums come in with something completely different.
Your one just goes.
It just completely changes. And I was like, sorry, I've got to restart this.
I want to talk about Ableton because
I
want to talk about I know, just because that's a journey in and of itself. What's the good question? This isn't a good question, but I'm going to ask it. How established do you feel you are with Ableton?
How established does anyone feel with Ableton?
Well, there's the question. And why did you feel like you needed to learn it?
Okay, so literally, I don't think I've told her this. One of the artists that I play for, she's a good friend now, so maybe it would be fine. But I got the gig, and then I was using the SPD for backing tracks. And basically, she was thinking about cutting some members because the budget was too much. And she basically needed more stuff to go on track. And I basically was thinking, oh, Christ, well, the obvious thing there is to find someone with Ableton, and I don't know how to do it. So I told her I knew how to do it, basically. I hadn't ever touched Ableton in my entire life. I remember having a phone call with her about it, and I'd done some research before going on the call. Basically, what can you do with Ableton? for live, got some basic info, and basically said that like to her on the phone call. And then instantly, and at the time I was still like working in hospitality. I think I was in like a coffee shop. I didn't have any money, so I remember ringing my dad saying like, can I borrow like 350 quid so I can buy Ableton? And then as soon as I bought Ableton, it was like, oh my God, I don't know what's going on here. Because I was so used to Logic. And the first thing that you notice when you go from Logic or even Pro Tools into Ableton is that it's just on the other side. Everything's just on the other side. So instantly your brain is just like, what is going on? The keyboard shortcuts are all different. It's a bit of a steep learning curve. And I remember just sort of plugging in just like the straight MP3 files from the backing tracks before I even started putting stems in, and trying to just sort of get it to play, get it to sync up with an interface. It seems so simple now that you just go into your preferences and you select your interface, but I think it took me like half an hour to work it out. And over time, it just gets simpler. You just have to make so many mistakes. I mean, nowadays we're running 2 laptops on stage, so it's a hefty setup, and you need a very specific interface for that. So we had to get that as well. And over time, I've just had to go through a lot of difficult situations, especially like when you turn up to a gig and maybe you open your file and all the stems are missing, and you have to go through all your folders and literally re-import every single one. It's a bit daunting at first, but once you get your head around it, it's actually really easy, and it's really good for arranging live sets. It's probably, I mean, I know some people use MainStage. I think Ableton is probably the industry standard, almost certainly. But it's great for rehearsals. If you've got all the stems in a show file and you want to make a show or a set a bit more interesting, you can just in there right away, you can just extend sections. You can pull some stems out to add more layers or take away layers. You can create transitions between songs. In my band, Winter Gardens, one of the main things that we always do is we make sure there's no silence at all within the entire set. So once I press play on Ableton at the beginning of the set, it's just play from front to back. So I have to have a lot of faith in my programming. There's no stops. And you wouldn't be able to do that without Ableton. If you were running stuff on like an SPD, it's a massive risk to have like a 30-minute long MP3. Because if something goes wrong, you only can start it from the beginning.
Yeah.
And you can't, if you then wanted to have a song on each kit, you then have to manually change it. And you wouldn't be able to have like super smooth transitions, all time coded and everything. And some people probably don't even care for that. I mean, there'll be plenty of bands that don't need it as well. You can create smooth transitions without it. But when you're in a project that has a lot of layers, like Winter Gardens or Coco and the Lost, or any of the other projects that I do, there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on, lots of atmosphere. And you don't want to just get rid of that for the sake of playing live. You don't want to leave that just on the recording. So I think it's important to be able to create smooth transitions between songs, to be able to visualize it as well, to rearrange songs, to maybe have like a live intro for a song. Something that I quite often do is I will take the chord progression, let's say the keys chord progression of a final chorus. So it typically has like a build up towards the end of it. I'll just chop it and I'll put it on the front of the set or the song. And I'll have it, maybe I will, maybe I won't, but typically I'll fade it in, and you'll have this sort of slow crescendo, sort of foreshadowing the rest of the song. And then you'll have everyone build up with it. Maybe you'll add some stabs into it as well. Everyone syncs up. And then at the end of that progression, it just drops down and you start the song. And it just gives this like more exciting feeling. If someone's been listening to your music on Spotify or whatever, it gives them something new to hear when they turn up. One of the things that I don't love about a lot of music and a lot of local music, I mean, to be honest, it's maybe me being unfairly critical is that it's just song, stop, song, stop, song, stop. This is what this song is about. Play the song. This is what this song is about. Play the song. You're just playing the songs. You're not really making a show. And it's not always super exciting. The best shows that I've ever watched are different from the record. They flow perfectly. It's intentional. And I think Ableton gives you the opportunity to do that and really think about how you want to craft a set, not just play one.
I just want to ask, is George any good at football?
Yeah, you scored a couple goals last time we played, didn't we?
Say again?
We were on the same team last time. We played pretty well.
I think we were, yeah.
Yeah, we were down, I think. We were down like 4-0 and ended up winning 8-4, didn't we?
Oh, that
is a comeback.
Yeah, they do you know what? I feel like every game we play with, it's like there'll always be a team that's winning 9-0. And the last 10 minutes, the other team will do some mad comeback.
Yeah, because the team winning 9-0 just sort of like, I'm bored now. So they stopped trying.
Literally. Were you there when I had my massive catastrophic injury right before Christmas?
Oh, was that at the Christmas game?
I
think I might have been, actually. Because you had to go in goal, didn't you?
Yeah. Oh, you were?
Yeah.
That was right, but the day of a gig, and I had to step out a gig. But something just like popped in my calf, and then I went in goal. Just to tell you about the rest of my day that day. And then, and then I was like, I was meant to have a gig in Bournemouth, and I was like, I don't think I can do this. And by a few hours later, I couldn't even walk. So I had to get a friend to dep the gig. I've never had to dep a gig on the day before, but yeah. Basically,
have you guys ever...
It's risky.
It is risky. And I was going to say, have you ever decided to not play football because you have a gig coming up that you, or something like that? Because I've done it, not for gigs. I've done it where I've gone, I cannot risk an injury because I'm going to Disney World for 2 weeks. Or I'm going on holiday and I cannot. Do you know what I mean? Like, and it just takes one. Like, I used to play football a little bit and just in goal and like, you know, make a save and it just bent my hand back just slightly too far. And you're like, oh fucking hell, that's annoying. And back at uni I got knocked out once playing football and I think sometimes a friend of mine went skiing, guitarist, broke both his wrists on day one. And you just think like there are some things where it's like I can't, you know, you shouldn't be so risk averse. You don't do anything. But I'm just wondering if there's any instances where if you play regularly, where you've been like, I can't risk it because I've got this gig or this something coming up.
I will just say quickly, I played deep defense that Christmas game we did. I was like, I'm just going to hang by the goalie and not do any mad runs because after the last time, I was like, yeah. And I think I had a gig the next day, so I was like, yeah. What about you, Connor?
I have not. Maybe I haven't learnt my lesson from breaking my wrist, because I mean, as soon as I went back to football, everyone was like, "Why are you going back to football?" But even last week, we played on Thursday last week, and then there was another game on the Friday, and I was like, maybe I won't bother because I already played, and I was recording all weekend, so on the Friday I was kind of like, I don't know, maybe even if I don't get injury, I might just be knackered, and recording is a long process. So I still went. I was just like, whatever. I mean, they're all my friends in the recording. I did think about it. I thought maybe if my legs are shaky or I don't know, if I pull something, whatever. But no, I feel like I refuse to let myself get scared from a broken wrist. Yeah, basically.
Also, I probably try and think like that, and then as soon as I'm playing, there are parts of the game where I am just chasing the ball like a dog. Like I'm not even in a position. I'm just running like a mental case.
I've done it before where I'm like, I'll still play, but it's not worth going in properly for a challenge or something like that.
Yeah. Or
and then 5 minutes in, you're full Roy Keaning it, like.
Yeah,
literally.
Yeah, I feel like I'm like playing in the Prem every single time.
Well, there's a guy we play with called Jordan, who last week was just an absolute animal. I'm sure he won't mind me saying, but just I can't remember who he kept going for, but I was like, that wasn't fair. That was full.
Are you all musicians who play?
Most of us. Not everyone, but I think most of us, yeah.
I think it's just people Dean knows. Dean knows everyone, it seems. So
Apparently, yeah.
I mean, the WhatsApp group, there's about 50 people in it. So,
and only like 10 people ever talk.
I know, literally.
Yeah,
I always think that.
it's absolutely the same. I've got a five-a-side group. We haven't played for ages because everyone's old. And you're like, is anyone up for playing a game on Wednesday? And you get 6 people say yes, and you look at the group and there's like 32 people in it, and you're like, I thought this person was dead. They haven't spoken up for so long.
Right, let's do our final question then. Connor, who is your favourite delivery company?
Ooh. Damn. I've never, do you know what? At the moment, I've not had a bad every delivery.
Yeah, they're
UPS
right.
always makes a mistake. DPD are not great. Hermes.
Well, that is every.
Is it?
Yep. There you go.
Oh.
Rebrand.
Oh, so it's the same thing. Okay, well, the rebrand is working for me then.
There you go.
They do seem to be turning it around. Actually, they do seem to be turning it around. There's a lot more content with Every now.
What is it? The post office, just Royal Mail has actually been quite good lately.
Yeah, there you go. Go with that.
Simple.
Any bad delivery stories?
Bad delivery story. Do you know what? The other day I actually got a letter through. It was all bagged up. It was because my birthday was like a month ago, and I got a card and it was all bagged up, and it was all that was actually Royal Mail, to be fair. So maybe I should take that back. Yeah.
Wait, what do you mean bagged up?
It was it was like a birthday card in an envelope that had been put in like a glued up see-through bag to protect it, because they'd obviously ruined it. So they had to put it in a bag to ensure it's like safe delivery.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there we go. Connor,
where can people find you?
Oh,
I was already saying it.
Yeah. Instagram's the main one. And I mean, you can, everything is on the link tree in my Instagram. Yeah, thanks for having me.
That's okay. Let's say your Instagram. That's what I was just going to say. Yeah, there you go. Connor McCorkindale. Brilliant. No worries. Thanks for being on.
And, thank you so much for your time.
And I'll see you tonight.
You playing tonight?
Yeah. Big time.
Excellent. Cool.
Yeah. We only just scraped 10 people, but, I think we did in the end. From the group of 100.
It's one of the greatest challenges this nation faces.
It really is. Yeah.
Trying to get 10 middle-aged men together.
Dean said we're going to play on Wednesday, I was like, don't play on Wednesday. It's always a Thursday,
Don't do Wednesdays.
What are you doing? So, yeah, nice. Right.
Dean.
Well, thanks so much.
Nice one, guys.
Cool.
Have a good day.
Nice one, man. You too.
Don't break any wrists.
Yeah.
I'll try.
Try not to.
There we go.
There we go. That was our chat with Connor McCorkindale.
Yeah, what a corking surname.
Amazing surname. You were disappointed. He wasn't Irish. He might be Irish. Doesn't sound Irish, but
didn't sound Irish. But
I
think when you said, I asked you what his surname was, and you said it's such an Irish surname.
I said guess, and you guessed Connor O'Connor.
Connor O'Connor, yeah.
Which is an amazing name.
So disappointed
if someone
it wasn't
out there
that.
is called that. Yeah, me too.
There was do you remember the shop Macro?
Maybe.
You know Booker's? It's sort of like a Booker's, but
right.
And there used to be one.
It's mental. I never know where any of these stories are gonna. Like, how the hell?
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah. Right. So it was like a big sort of wholesalers, right?
Right.
And my mum had a card to get in because she used to have her own business, so you could go in, right? But basically, you could get like lots of stuff for cheap in bulk and things like that. And actually, I bought my first television from there. It was a Bush TV. It's like 21-inch, big old fucking tube thing. Anyway, so I used to go in with my mum, and there was a guy who worked on the counter at the front who would check your membership card, and he had a name tag, right? They all had name tags, And his name was Barney Barnes. And I distinctly remember that every time I go in and see him. He was in his 50s, well, he's probably dead now. But like, Barney Barnes. And I think, if your surname's Barnes, don't call your firstborn Barney.
Yes, that's amazing. Or do and let them have
but
the
like
best life ever.
You know,
Barney Barnes. That's amazing.
Because you know Gary Neville.
Yeah, the Neville thing. Yeah,
Neville.
Yeah.
You know,
which is amazing. That's so mental.
Yeah,
to be
there
called
must be loads of other
Neville.
examples. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we always go through my friends. You know, Tyler Todd, alliteration.
Tyler Todd,
if you want that,
great name.
Barney Barnes. That's good. I want to talk about something quickly, just to wrap up the episode.
Please do.
Just otherwise, we'll get into a name hole again. You know, which we do a lot. So Icebreaker Festival is coming up soon in Portsmouth. There's a lot of people outside, like more than usual. This is weird. What's going on? Anyway, so I just got distracted. Honestly, it's like out my window.
People have found out where you live, mate.
Well, it's just all of a sudden, it's just like almost a crowd.
What are you looking out onto? Is it just a residential road? Are you?
Yeah, it's just sort of like, some blocks of flats and stuff, you know. But I'll tell you that, actually, do you know what? Forget about Icebreaker. It's not interesting. Basically, there was a band clash. We had to move one of the bands, and now it's going to be mental because I finished playing with Ren at 6:30, and then I have to load in with Lennon at 6:30 to play at 7 with him or something. I don't know.
Where's your Ren gig?
The Deco, and then
where's your Lennon gig?
The Vaults.
Not far.
Yeah, like 6-minute walk, Google Maps.
Yeah.
But it's weird the way they do the loading, because it's like, I'll finish with Ren at 6:30, and it's like Lennon load-in is 6:30, but also you can get there at 7. I don't know, they say 6:30, but also you don't start
because
sound
people will be
until
late.
7. Yeah.
It's like what I have to do to Mike. We don't need to leave till 2, but 1:30, please.
Yeah. Exactly.
Because he will get there at 1 to 2.
Anyway, I'm not fussed about Icebreaker. I'm playing it. If you're about, come down, see me, say hi.
Yeah.
More importantly, what I wanted to tell you, have I told you about the birds outside my window? Let me explain that. So, actual birds.
Just
every
loads of
morning.
birds hanging. I think I found out where I live. Embarrassing.
Every morning, you'll hear at 7 a.m. like the most amount of seagulls you've ever heard in your life. And someone, I think, just throws a load of birdseed. The most amount.
More than 10.
Ah, shit. One day I'll get it right. Fuck. That's so annoying. Anyway, I took a video one morning, and there was definitely more than 10. It was about 100 seagulls. I'm not being dramatic. I think someone just throws a load of bird food on the road, but they're so loud, obviously, you know? So you got that. You got the foxes. You know, also round here, you know, it's... some questionable characters. There's a road from here to the centre of Brighton, and it's just like
scum.
A lot of crackheads, basically. And you get very good at being street smart. Like, cross the road for this one. You know what I mean? They all hang outside Morrison's. You know. Anyway, that was way off topic. I was going to talk about Icebreaker, but you know, there was a clash. That's that. It's more interesting to talk about what I see outside my window. You know what I mean? It's one of those things. I'll end with this because I am just rambling now. Brighton, if you just kind of stand in one place anywhere in Brighton for about 10 minutes, you'll see some weird stuff. You know what I mean? That's all I want to say. You know, if you just kind of just look around, watch what someone's doing, it's usually odd. You know. Anyway, that's enough of that. I ain't got anything else to say. If you're at Icebreaker, come down.
Yeah. When is it?
Because 1st of Feb, so it will be like a week after this one drops.
Do you know what I am seeing is the local bands of Portsmouth whose only gig of the year is Icebreaker.
Well,
book their rehearsals for the end of January at the studio. Yeah. Oh, they're back.
I mean,
must be Icebreaker. That's my reminder that Icebreaker's happening.
Yeah.
Specifically, my mate Ken's band. Oh, they've booked in. Must be Icebreaker.
Well, I'm rehearsing at your studio this Saturday. Specifically for that. That with Lennon. Oh, I'll tell you now, by the way, I think we've booked 2 till 4, but Lennon was like, we might want another hour. And I said, well, that might throw Ben off, because what if he's having his dinner at 5 or something? But that's something that isn't for the pod. That's just us doing.
Just doing our admin.
Planning.
I mean, I'm on the booking software right now, this Saturday, isn't it? Well, we close at 4, so if you want to do earlier, you'll have to do 1 till 4.
Yeah, fair.
So, do you know what? I've had a few instances. It's just me ranting now, right? So our online booking system is pretty good, right? And you go and you choose a room, and it tells you gives you a start time that's available and an end time that's available. And so, for example, Lennon booking that rehearsal, it is selected 2:00. The only end time it would give him is 4, because we shut at 4, right? But I had a band that booked in online, and they booked 6 till 8, right? And there's already a band in the same room 8 till 10. That's already been booked. So this person booked in 6 till 8. Great, that's available. They booked in, and then they phoned me and then left me a voicemail, being like, "Oh, we wanted to book 6:30 till 9:30, but only 6 till 8 was available. Can we change it to 6:30 to 9:30?" And I had to phone this guy back and go like, "Oh, it's only available to 8 because it's only available till 8."
Yeah.
Because there's a band booked in. He's like, "Oh," but I'm like, I've had it happen before. Oh, your site only says we can book till 2. Can we book till 3? No, it's not lying to you.
No, yeah.
You know. But anyway, if you want to do 3 hours, you have to start at 1. But,
I'll talk to Lennon a bit because I am meeting him in an hour. Oh, I'll end with this actually. I keep saying that. I said to Lennon, "Oh, what do you want to do when you come to Brighton?" You know, he said, "Oh, I need to go to GAC," and I went, "Okay, well, I'll go for a coffee when you go and do that," because still never heard back if I got the job or not. It's been 2 months, so probably didn't.
In 2 years' time, they'll be like, "George, can you start on Friday?" What?
Yeah, literally. What? No, I don't even live here anymore. Yeah, cool. Right, let's wrap it up. Thanks to Connor for being on.
Yeah, thank you very much for coming on. Go and check him out on his Instagram, Connor McCorkindale. And have a good week, everyone, and we'll see you soon. And make sure you have the speed, the strength, and the heart to be a winner. Bye-bye.
Are you reading these?
Thank you for listening to Drum and Drummer. You can find us on Instagram at Drum and Drummer Podcast. And you can send us an email to drumanddrummerpod@gmail.com. Remember, just pick up the sticks and twat it.